Welcome to our continuing coverage of the Juan Vote 2016, GNN's continuing coverage. And this is a special coverage. Let me introduce to you very familiar faces here on GNN. Of course, your regular Monday host on Talk to
Harry.
And Erick San Juan, who hosts a very popular media kapihan, Rembrandt, and has written several books, and he just wants to be known as a political analyst.
Thank you, Mentong.
So, Harry, since it's age before beauty, beauty muna. Since I'm the oldest here, I think. Sige, go ahead, Harry.
Ewan ko, ang continuing coverage, obviously, yung nagte-trending is the incompetence of the COMELEC based on how they're handling these current elections. Sorry. Number one, the inconvenience of the people. Let's not go to the cheating first and the fraud or what we perceive to be cheating until it is proven. But you have proof, you'll bring that up later. You have information. To me, it's the inability of COMELEC to improve the situation. In the last, how many, in 2010 to 2007, obvious ba na ang pila mahaba? Obvious ba Mayo mainit? And then you're moved, buti nga, in my village, maganda pa, naka-aircon ka sa kwarto kasi sa Lasal Lasal Sobel Pero ang problema, habang nag-aantay ka, in the scorching heat, you wait for an hour. And only so many people are, it's like the LTO, kukuha ka ng lisensya. The government people are inside the air-conditioned room. Ikaw yung nasa labas. Oh, wait, excuse me. Aren't we the taxpayers? Aren't we the ones who own these buildings? Aren't we the ones who pay the electricity? Aren't we the ones who pay the wages? And we're the ones to suffer? And you who are our employees, including the COMELEC, ang kayo na sa loob. I mean, what is it? Is it sheer incompetence, stupidity, or it's because they want to make the people suffer?
Harry, I was going to ask nga, kung sinong binoto niya, hindi pa pala pwede. May bumoboto pa, you will be influencing the voter. Live tayo ngayon eh. So hindi ko tatanungin. Pakikita ko nga eh. Ayun, bumoto. Ako, kakanta ako. I have two hands, the left and the right. Hold them up high at walang tinta.
Yan. Ikaw.
Same here. Nota.
Why have you decided, Mentong, not to vote?
Well, okay, akin namang finger, wala, I've decided to vote because thinking about it, unang-una, yung kaso namin ni Bono Adasa at ni Ado Paglinaon, we filed in 2010, calling for the nullification of the 2010 elections, dahil, anong mga dahilan?
Because
Tinanggal yung pirma ng BEI, yung resibo, wala, yung napakaraming safeguard, tinanggal. So we filed the case saying, tingnan muna ng Korte Suprema, kung ito'y lehitimong eleksyon. Hanggang ngayon, salamat sa Diyos, sorry to bringing in the name of the Lord, hanggang ngayon wala pang desisyon ng Korte Suprema. Bakit doon sa kaso ni Po, ilang buwan lang, tinapos isang linggo yung essential issues, no? Bakit ganyan? Because they are avoiding some real issues about the voting machine.
Mentong, what is wrong with the COMELEC? Okay, in the grassroots, now that we see how the elections are unfolding, we see the same problems. Now, of course, there are glitches left and right. What is wrong with the COMELEC? It's not like hindi nila alam to eh. Diba na, yung mga PICOS, yung mga safeguards, tinanggal. Obvious ba?
Obvious.
Hanggang ngayon, lahat, why are they being so hard-headed to go against the law? I don't understand it.
Tanungin natin si
Actually,
Erick.
there's so many flaws in these elections. And what's worrisome, alam na nila yung problema in the past. Pero up to now, ginagawa pa nila eh. Plus, let's face it,
How can you account for that? Why are they doing it? Why do you think they're doing it?
These are all crises by design. It's a perfect crime, kala nila.
Lahat to intent.
Of course. Very clear, no? Kaya nga doon makikita na really worrisome itong election na to. Especially now, na I can say that this is a war of hackers.
Hackers, no?
Hindi lang isang partido ang merong expert, merong foreign experts, at ngayon, iniimbestigahan na yung Novotel na, would you believe, yung mismo Smartmatic, na sila na nag-handle ng eleksyon natin, ay meron silang additional na mga foreign experts na nandiyan sa Novotel na ngayon iniimbestigahan.
Ba't nahuli kaninang umaga?
Kaninang umaga. At
Ano
i-check
nahuli
lang
doon?
nila
Ano nahuli doon? Mga
yung mga
makina?
tao, yung mga sino-sino itong mga to. Bakit sila separate from the office of
Yan ang
Smartmatic?
tinatawag ni Nelson Celis na backdoor, nakakapasok
Well,
dito sa mga
yan.
computers.
Napanood ko yung
Ayan
mga
ang
reports
worrisome.
kanina, no? So they're investigating this now and so on. So itong aking daliri, magkakaroon ng tinta ulit. Sabi ko sa iyo, kung bumalik tayo sa manual voting and counting and then electronic transmission, nagkakasundo tayo dyan. Number two, ayusin ang eleksyon by way of, yung sabi ko nga kanina, magkaroon ng round robin, elimination rounds, para laging dalawa lang ang maglalaban
So
sa
majority
huli.
vote at the end. Never minority.
May majority winner lagi.
Always.
Tulad nitong halalan na to, o tulad nung 2010, below 50% ang panalo nung
Correct.
magiging presidente.
Mga 24, 25%.
So
always.
kung ganyan, liderato ba siya ng bayan? Samantalang simple reform of the electoral system, meron kang elimination round. Number 3, pag may elimination round ka, yung crucial election nung dalawang natitira, talagang mababantayan na ng lahat. Kung ngayon tulad ngayon,
Majority
hacker
talaga.
versus hacker versus
Nakakatakot.
hindi lang dalawang hacker na naglalaban.
Hindi.
5, 4
Kaya talagang confusing
na
ito.
grupo. Oo.
Saka hindi lang confusing. Talagang masisira yung numerics niyan in the process.
But what is the purpose?
Purpose is to win.
To win one specific
One, of
side?
course.
Is the COMELEC Liberal Party, for example? Or
Eh,
is it the other side? Because mukhang anong gawin ng gobyerno, mukhang dadapa ata sa eleksyon nito. Ano nangyari? Sa galit nila kay Po, kay Binay muna, 1 taon nila tinira, di ba? Tapos si Po naman, kung sino-sino, tuloy may nabuhay na hindi nila makakontrol, si Duterte. So, who is really at fault and why are they doing it? Is it Malacanang again because they control the COMELEC and the rich that want to keep the status quo to Americanize the Filipinos while keeping us indolent?
Sinabi mo na lahat. All of the above.
All of
Very
the
clear
above.
yun. Very clear.
But I think it's good to focus kung anong pinaka-crucial na nangyari itong taong ito dyan sa Smartmatic. Nagkaroon ng pagbabago ng ownership. Kasi nagkakaproblema dito eh. Hindi naman...
Nanluloko yan. Di ba PICOS yan? Ngayon, natawag na, ano natawag doon?
Hocus pocus. Hocus pocus.
Voting count, VCM.
VCM.
Binago nila.
VCM.
Masyado
Linuloko
ng
Pilipino.
balansa yung hocus pocus, kaya BCM naman ang pangalan.
It looks the same. It's the same color. It does the same thing.
It's the same dog.
Yeah, and it's still incompetent because it can still be hacked. It still has all those openings, and yet they change the name. Are we that stupid that we don't know?
Yun.
Di ba?
Correct.
Maybe the Filipino is stupid, di ba?
Maraming nakakahalata na sa machine na yan, yung PICOS, Smartmatic, yung mga pangalan na yan. Kaya binabago nila.
Para
Every
lokohin
time,
ng Pilipino.
Para lokohin yung maloloko pa.
Ay, maloloko.
Okay, anyway, simula na para sa pagbabago, win or loss, sabi dito, Duterte ang presidente ko. Sa mga text na dumarating sa atin, puso at sa isip, number 7897. Sa Region 2, Binay daw kami. That makes you a bit happier siguro. From 0387, Fight Rojas, number 9873. DU30 supporter from Dimple, grabing init at haba ng pila pero kailangan mo suporta para kay DU30. Number 8530, dito sa amin, uso ang dayaan, 500 ang galing sa kandidato pero 150 ang ibinigay sa mga botante from Banga, South Cotabato. Okay, well, those are the reactions from our audience and makikita natin yung ilang mga reports from their text. No? But I was going to say nga, importante malaman ng bayan yung pag-aari o yung may-ari ng Smartmatic, inilagay si Mark Malloch Brown bilang chairman ng Smartmatic. Number one, you have a foreigner running the company that runs the voting machine. Number two, bakit binago yung ownership? Na foreign naman din. Binago yan dahil medyo may contradiction na dito sa local. Yung Liberal Party may interest to control Smartmatic, pero yung Amerikano at yung British may interest din na mag-control niyan. So I think nagle-leverage yung dalawa, si Poba o si Rojas. Kasi Rojas, instrumento ng lahat ng mga gustong magpatuloy ang kurakot ng Liberal Party. Si Po naman, At may makikita sa kanyang pronouncements about the China Sea issue, gusto ng Amerikano at ng British, may instrumento sila sa bakbak no? sa issue na yan. Ano? And so again, that's a fundamental issue. Ang may nagmamay-ari sa ating voting machine is foreign interest.
Hindi
That's
lang
a
yun.
violation of the
Ang worrisome
Constitution.
pa dyan, foreign interest na nga yan, tapos yung mandadaya pa, may investment. Ayaw ko lang banggitin ng pangalan. Kaya yung isang mama ay masyadong overconfident.
Okay.
Despite of all these things.
Ibig mo sabihin, meron ding puhunan doon sa loob ng
Yes,
Smartmatic.
yes.
Na may political interest
Correct.
naman dito sa eleksyon.
Kaya yun ang nakakatakot.
And that is the danger of having corporations control the machine.
Correct.
Kasi sino man nasa likod ng korporasyon? Dapat tulad ng dati, lahat nasa responsibilidad ng COMELEC. Kung nagkakapalpakan, ang pupugutan ng ulo, chairman ng COMELEC. Ngayon magtuturoan Hindi, yung machine, hindi, ganito, hindi.
Well, based on what we're seeing in other stations, based on actual on-the-ground reports, mukhang it's tyranny out there, it's chaos, because the COMELEC, the head of the COMELEC is running around like a headless chicken.
Correct.
I don't understand that, because he was just saying yesterday and the day before that they're 100% ready. And even Smartmatic was saying they're 100% ready. I don't see why the Smartmatic, being just a machine hardware supplier, has to even be ready.
That's
They've
correct.
already made their sale, their business model is done.
Correct.
Hindi naman sila Pilipino But while the COMELEC, it seems the incompetence of the whole department. Diba? Well, I can't even celebrate the DepEd because they too are not ready. It's obvious, diba? They keep their teachers and whatnot in air condition while we all suffer outside. Parang they don't really care. So is this government, or is it the total mismanagement of the country through the departments that failed us? Going back to transportation, this crazy crisis in the West Philippine Sea, diba? The airports, the mismanagement of the
Grabe.
country. And for what? To continue again? Alam mo, yung mayaman may pera na, okay na kayo. Pero yung pobre, well, suffer somewhere. Diba? Ganun lang yun.
Correct.
Yung MRT lang walang escalator na umaandar dahil gumagamit ako ng MRT hanggang ngayon. Mabuti may bagong mga bagon na, no?
I didn't even know.
Wala pa rin Kahit may bago, wala pa rin.
It's a still trial run, but it's running already and may mga magandang feedback na sa Facebook,
ganun ba?
no? So,
Pero
well,
still too late, di hero
for this
Ang dami
administration,
nagbigan.
ang problema baka makikinabang next administration kung may new administration, no? Problema nila, no? But another observation ng kanina nag-text o sa Facebook, nabasa ko. May sign sa mga presinto na bawal ang cellphone camera. Yan ay guaranteed by the Omnibus Election Code na pwede yan. That is one of our guarantee that we can record things. Kaya mahalata mo, parang naisip ko kanina na maghanap ng ehemplo ng ganito. No? Yung mag-asawa, yung lalaki, nagmumoonlight. Mararamdaman ng misis yun kasi maraming strange habits na mangyayari. Bakit wala ka pa dito sa oras na to? Tawag ako dyan sa oras niyan, hindi ka sumasagot. Hindi, naubusan ng baterya. So, hindi ka naman naubusan ng baterya noon. Yan ang COMELEC natin ngayon. Ang daming mga excuses sa mga lapses, sa mga kung ano-ano mga dahilan.
But why have we, the people, allowed them to stay the way they are? Your case, 2010, tinulugan. Hanggang Korte Suprema, tinulugan. I don't understand that. I mean, even our courts, 20 years, 30 years to resolve a case. The judges are so kampante as if they own it. I think they forget that their wages come from the taxes of the people. Di ba parang ganun Because they are, bastusan the different constitutional bodies, all these agencies that are supposed to serve the people have stopped serving the people.
Tama ka.
Di ba? I mean,
Bastusan na.
nasira
That's
ng
the right word.
institutions. The institutions have been, well, the Supreme Court, I mean, gee, the Ombudsman, my gosh, I mean, aren't these people who are employees of the people, these people that sit as heads, they should be embarrassed.
Well,
They should resign.
as I listen to you, Harry, naalala ko, and I miss him a lot, he would have been so helpful if he were around, si Attorney Alan Padilla.
Alan, yeah.
Because the reason why I remember him is there is no rule of law anymore.
Correct.
Yung nireklamo natin sa Korte Suprema, hindi sila sumusunod sa rule of law. Yung issue nung citizenship ni Po, napakalinaw, ang mayorya ay sinasabi hindi pa resolve yung citizenship question. Ang niresolve lang nila Sereno, the Sereno 7,
Founding issue.
is, hindi rin yun. Yung pinagalitan nilang COMELEC na grave abuse of discretion dahil hindi tinulungan i-verify yung claim ni Po na siya ay foundling and so on and so forth. And therefore, indeterminate pa yung kanyang citizenship.
pending, yes.
Kaya, pwede nang tumakbo. When the fact is...
Until people complain, until there is a formal complaint, when and if she becomes
president na sa
PET yun.
yun yung tawag na
Presidential,
Presidential Electoral Tribunal daw. So tinetechnical.
Tinetechnical.
And so it was not the rule of law. And tulad nung kaso namin ni Bono, again you have the rule, there was no rule of law because they're supposed to resolve the issues, But it goes down deeper into the problem of our society. Walang rule of law, for example, sa mga may hirap, dahil doon sa issue ng yung sa filing ng kaso, filing fee.
Yun, isa pa.
Filing fee has practically negated any rights for the poor over issues such as land and so on. Kung may lupa ka, kasuhan ka ng isang nagla-land grab, para ka lumaban, maka-file mo ng
Kakapera
kaso,
ka muna.
kailangan may pera ka muna.
Correct.
Mahirap ka nga eh.
Oo nga.
So that is already a negation of the rule of law of our Constitution and the rights of our people, lalo na mahihirap, kasi kailangan mo ng pera.
Correct.
But even to run in this election, kailangan mo ng pera.
Si Lito David, yung
Yes.
kandidato na dineclare na nuisance candidate,
Wala kasi doon siya pera.
wala kasi siyang pera daw to organize a nationwide organization. Is that rule of law? It is not.
Right, it's not.
So wala nang rule of law. And if Alan were around, I'm sure he would be sitting with us and pounding on this issue of the rule of law.
But why does the Filipino take it?
Kasi we're pliant like a bamboo. Plus, tayo para tayong...
We're stupid.
Hindi naman
We're stupid as a people. We're weak as a people.
Yung attitude natin, we really have to change it.
Well, if I may translate that into a social analysis, wala nang poder ng taong bayan eh.
Tinanggal na yung poder natin.
Ano yung poder na yun? That is your economic capability. Sobrang pobre na ang nakakarami at sobrang hawak ng pera, poder ng pera, yung iilan. From Manny Pangilinan, Ayala,
Beholden tayo
etc.
sa mga
Wala, lahat ng politiko, kailangan mag-amen
Yes, master.
sila para may
But-
bilyon
Yes,
sa
master.
eleksyon.
But isn't this exactly what Ferdinand Marcos did in 72?
Correct.
This was the situation in 71, 70, 69.
Never changed pattern.
The oligarchs were beginning,
system.
they were shooting each other in the street. There was so much collateral damage that when martial law came, it was acceptable. Correct?
What Marcos did was concentrate power in his hand.
Yun ang problema. Siya yung naging corrupted.
And made law by decree. Now, ano na yan you will have to discuss and debate what is corruption there. Kasi Marcos concentrated it in his hands.
And to a few.
And however, how did he employ that power? There was
By using big law offices which he created.
ganyan
Just
naman
like
talaga.
Biafra.
The law always supports the power.
Yun ang problema dyan,
The law always supports. So
galing
ito ang mga social
But right now, we
question.
don't have law based on what we're talking about. So what supports the power today? There is no longer law, and the Supreme Court, no less, follows the money trail.
yeah,
So where are we now with that situation?
Well,
really so
that,
immoral.
that is why people are attracted to Duterte, who projects an image of authority again. Na itabi lahat yan, basta't may central source of guidance. Number 4137, Duterte is the best or Po is okay for us. Number 6093, tiniis ko lahat, maboto ko lang si Tatay Duterte to clean the criminality. From Jether, 6397, si Binay ang candidate ko, walang resibo from Palasaw, ano yan? Kantilyan ba yan?
Kantilan,
Kantilan, Surigao. Walang resibo. Kung may resibo man, walang presinto at petsa. What's the point?
But I don't understand. Why, mga nagte-text po, wag na, kasi botohan na naman ngayon eh. Tapos na yung kampanya. So, okay lang kung sino po binoto nyo, sinong gusto nyo. That's okay. Pero for us to have to read it out, to say who you want, who you prefer,
meron
that
pang
is
ilang
your
oras.
right. No, that's your right. But sana if you join us, tell us what you think based on the discussions. Because really, the issues, of course, mangyayari dito, the majority rule. We are more of a democracy than a republic. Basically, we follow the majority, whatever it rules. Even if it is wrong, wherever it's going, we have to follow that.
Of course.
Oh, now, whether there is cheating or not, the next president who is voted, we will find out by tomorrow. We will have to abide by it. Whether it's been chosen, I mean, miski ninakaw or whatnot.
Will we find out by tomorrow? I don't think so. I don't think
Well, in 2010, we found out pretty much
Almost,
the next
2010,
day. Less than 24 hours. Because, well, theoretically, it should be. It may not be complete, especially for the president. Madali-dali yan, national, no? But I'm sure the local, iko-contest yan, maraming issues. But more or less, alam ko, national, mabilis-bilis. Yun lang naman talaga habol ng lahat.
Correct.
Of course, yung local, bakbakan yan, barilan muna yan, away, di ba? That sort of thing, di ba? Bilihan yan sa mga COMELEC. But I'm just saying, kung tama ba nangyayari? Tama ba yung sitwasyon nyo? Tama ba umiintay kayo ng 3-4 na oras? Tama ba yun? Yung mga eskwelahan na yan, mas lalo ng mga public school, sino po may-ari niyan? Hindi ba rin kayo? Bakit kayo ang pinapipila, pinaantay? I mean, miski yung COMELEC, ilang bilyon binigay natin dyan. Pero bakit ganyan? Binigay na nga nila sa Smartmatic yung hardware. Pero ba't pa kayo pinaparusahan?
Bakit
Is
nga
it
may pila?
because the management of the COMELEC, I'm sorry, you know why this government and most governments, most administrations, for some funny reason, they leave the management to lawyers. Ano ba naman? Abogado, kaya ba mag-opera ng tiyan yan pag masama ang tiyan mo?
Correct.
I mean, does a lawyer know how to fix the traffic situation? Do these people in the Senate who legislate understand the concept? Isn't this a management issue? A management professional that will work out movement, time
And
movement?
expertise issue,
Diba?
of
Oh,
course.
election. How many people come in? Saan mag-aantay? Kung umulan o kung mainit, di ba? Yung matanda, saan? Why is it, until now, we are seeing the same news, the same thing, in 3 years, we're gonna see the same thing again. Di ba?
Yeah,
Parang
well,
ganun eh.
I have had this thesis that after every 2 years of a new administration, frustrated na at disappointed na ang tao. Kasi hindi naman nababago at hindi kaya baguhin yung mga fundamentals like taas ng kuryente, taas ng transportasyon. Halimbawa, yung MRT, LRT, every 2 years may increase yan.
May increase.
Nandoon sa kontrata yan. Dapat every 2 years bumababa yan. Bakit?
Supposed to be,
Nababawi na nila investment.
Dumiliit yung
Hindi,
principal eh.
lalong lumalaki.
So, baliktad lahat, no? So, we're talking about rule of law. We're talking about the problem of installing a power that will institute the rule of law. And question is, ano yung rule of law? We have to go back to the principle of what is good for more people is the law. Reverse ang nangyayari ngayon. So, kung tingnan natin ng tuwid na daan, what is good for Ayala, Ramon Ang, etc. is good for is the highest value in the law. Now, it doesn't matter.
Behind the president, kamo.
Oo nga. Now, it doesn't matter if you have a
All the
democracy or you have a
mafia.
system like China, Vietnam, or Singapore na authoritarian. Basta yung principle mo na sinusunod, the greater good for the greater number.
Yun,
Ideal.
dapat.
We
Supposed
have,
to be.
we have to rebuild eh. We have to rebuild eh.
Where will correction come from? From the president, dapat.
Dapat.
Hindi pwede from the bottom up.
Correct.
It's corrupted na.
Leadership by example.
And the institutions are weak. So dapat, the guy on top has to
Yun.
start it going down.
Oo.
And that could be a benevolent leader without having to put the word dictatorial.
Yeah, yeah.
But it need be.
That's why I use authoritarian. May authority.
Authority, yes.
Authoritarian.
Well, China is a mess. Let's face it. I mean, the rule of 300, sila, they're purging each other. Even Japan is a mess politically. Malaysia is, well, they're
It's the
finger
same
pointing
thing.
to each other.
But why are they more progressive? Even
the
even
institutions are stronger.
the institutions are stronger. The people have a certain basic expectation.
Correct.
the greatest good for the greatest number.
Yun.
Ang China, halimbawa, ang Communist Party, they have a lot of authority and power, pero takot sila ng rebellion.
tao.
Takot sa rebellion. Kasi pag magsimula sa China ang rebellion,
At tuloy-tuloy
ang
na yan.
gulo niyan.
Diretso na.
So, yumayaman ng taong bayan, they're the biggest tourist
Correct, right
market now in the world. They have to keep acting on the demands of the people.
Correct.
They've solved the hunger problem. Dito, reverse.
Yeah, reverse,
Walang
reverse.
pakialam sa taong bayan. O sige, halal kayo. What do we care? Hindi naman nasusunod ng batas. Tumataas naman ang kuryente, tubig at iba pa. Kamentong, as of 10 o'clock in the morning, hundreds of voters in San Pedro, Laguna have experienced malfunctioning of vote counting machines. Here is Hanilin Bisco live for the details. So, Hanilin, what's the latest?
More than 500 voters fear not to cast their votes Monday due to the malfunctioning vote counting machines. After processing over 40 ballots in the first hour of voting day, one VCM has already showed problem in a precinct in San Pedro, Laguna. This caused dismay to voters, particularly to the senior citizens who queued up since 6 in the morning. On the other hand, the Smartmatic representative in the area had difficulty resolving the issue, even with the delivery of contingency vote counting machines. For GNN 1 Vote 2016, Hanilin Bisco.
Balik na naman tayo
Sige,
dito sa
lakad
problema. No? Here, there, and I hope it's not everywhere. Ano?
sige.
But everything we were talking about just a while ago, the news is following exactly our critique and our analysis of what the COMELEC has failed to do.
That's right,
Their
that's right.
incompetence has aggravated the situation, and now they are basically just turning off the fire. They're throwing water into the fire. When to begin with, they're the cause of fire. Parang ganun ang nangyari.
That's right. Well, so let's pick up from our discussion. We're talking about the basic and fundamental law. Ano, the greatest good for the greatest number. We have also been discussing that it doesn't matter if it's from election or from an authority figure who comes in and starts exercising that fundamental law. Ano? Yung greatest good for the greatest number.
Greatest
Ano?
number.
And so, it seems that we're making an argument again for those who are voting for Duterte. Gusto nila strongman na eh.
No, but alam mo, yung nangyari kay Duterte, nabigla lahat ng tao. Kaya lang naman naging talagang popular siya. Is kasi mga tao, hindi na alam kung saan pupunta. I mean,
Sa inis ng tao.
sa inis. Oo, kasi
Sa inis ng tao.
yung kasinungalingan na nilalabas ng Malacanang, mas lalo na ito si Noynoy, he has, for some reason, he has become so delusional that he believes on the lies that are being fed to him. Maybe doesn't check his sources anymore.
Correct.
Baka may mga bumubulong sa kanya. I don't think the guy is inherently bad, or maybe he is. But either way, I think Duterte is it's a phenomenon that has occurred
An enigma,
simply
no?
because of the consequence of the actions of Malacanang.
Correct.
Ganun lang naman
Correct.
yun eh. Kaya nagagalit ang mga taong bayan.
Bakit
talaga.
naman si Po umangat na tapos
Hindi, kasi nalaman naman
nagplato?
alam naman lahat Amerikano eh. Obvious
Ikaw,
naman.
Hindi, ang assessment ko, kasi ang taon, naghahanap ng political will, saka yung pinaka-good among them. Kasi lagi natin pinag-uusapan, we're talking about the lesser evil, the least evil, still evil eh. So, yan nakikita ng tao na bagito to, at least eh, kahit nasabihin mo meron pang nasa likuran nito, the way she talks, mukhang may laman at pwedeng gumawa ng tama sa bayan. Yan ang perception ng mga middle class na nakakausap ko.
Alam mo, people speaking into, they seem to confuse a lot of things. Parating sinasabi ng iba, integrity. You know, to be a leader or to be a manager in a top company, a president, chairman, or even pag proprietor ka, ikaw yung mahawak ng negosyo mo. Alam mo, everything first is competence. And to reach competence, you have to have first education. And if you're going for the highest position of the land, you better have the highest education first. I mean, you know, magdusa ka, learn. And then you need experience. The experience will further educate you
Correct.
to reach what you call competence.
Correct.
And then finally, maybe integrity. Now, if you talk about the integrity of certain people who are running in this campaign, I mean, let's look back. We've had 15 presidents. Tell me one that has not stolen from the country. The first, who has a whole province named after him, who owned a third of Baguio. Who? Every single president came
You're
down
talking
the
about
line.
Quezon. Quezon. In fact, if you look at the papers of Ortigas and Company, andun pang pangalan ni Quezon. So may parte siya.
Even
Okay.
the Molina property.
More text
Kanya
from
yun eh.
more text from our listeners. From 1603, grabe, almost 3 hours nakapila, nakabilad pa sa init ng araw. Sa wakas natapos din. Hashtag DU30, hashtag Dukay, hashtag change is coming from 8460. Ako'y dismayado sa eleksyon 2016 dahil sigurado na mananalo si Mar at Lenny dahil meron silang 20 million na balota at nakaprogram na kahit sino ang iboboto kong presidente at vice president. With light pink line ay may mga ang mga nakaprogram ballots for Mar and Lenny number. Is that confirmed yung orange line? I don't know. Let's wait for more investigation.
Tayo dyan sa information na yan.
Pero of course, it's good to be alerted. 0387, ayoko ng dahas, gusto ko ng batas.
Very
good.
Nasa
Okay
hashtag
na.
Solid
Very good.
Rojas
It's a good
and
one.
Robredo. Anything else? Okay, ayaw ng gulo. Gusto ng batas.
Maybe COMELEC wants to disenfranchise everybody. That's why their incompetence has led to the long lines, the inconvenience, the confusion, the poor machines, everything. All of this that is happening today, let's forget the candidates. Everything that is happening today, nagdudusa ang tao, is all on the COMELEC shoulder, correct? And being the leader, Andy Bautista, he should just resign. Diba?
Well,
and the rest of the commissioners, let's give it to management professionals.
Eric, anong reaction
Tama
mo
na
doon?
mga abogado.
Eric,
Si Hari has
Diba?
a good point there. Kasi ang problema natin, hindi yung expert sa
Sa law.
law.
Puro,
sa election laws. Kailangan talaga yan mga expert ang nilalagay mo. Although he's a lawyer, pero anong Hindi,
I'll
kasi-
posit a different, very radically different position. Ayaw ko na ng eleksyon.
how would we run the campaign?
Unang-una,
The majority would
Una-una,
run.
kailangan meron isang grupo ng mga dedicated na may kilalang track record na will take over government and for 2 years fix things up. Yun lahat
How would
nating...
you find these people? I remember that was a movement about a year ago, di ba? That
Oo
was
nga, no.
with former Supreme Court Judge
Justice,
Justice
Puno.
Puno, di ba? That's what
Meron
we
din
wanted.
silang
Supposed to be,
grupo.
sila Carmen Pedrosa, di ba? That group. A group of 10 or 20.
Maraming mag-aalok niyan. Pero talagang nasa proseso kung kanilang mabubuo ang konsenso sa loob ng military, police, simbahan, yung mga institusyon na may clout sa society na makapagsama.
But even the military, my gosh, yung kung sino umangat na, ninanakaw yung pera kaysa bilhin and to pay the services of the poor soldiers.
Yeah.
The police are
Yeah.
very much the same way. It's
Parang
Alam mo ang
corrupted.
problema, lahat contaminated.
Hindi,
na.
pero,
di ba,
Even
corruption
the church. Grabe.
Isang simbahan.
Pero talagang meron talagang kailangan umangat dyan. Parang sa history, napakaraming
Alam ko
instances
na,
niyan.
outsource government. Di mag-Amerikano na lang tayo.
Kung tatanggapin tayo. Pero mga Amerikano, kaya na pong nangyayari sa eleksyon nila.
magulo rin
Nagkakagulo din
Dahil
doon.
not only that, sa Amerika, nagiging komunista na.
Oo, kaya nga.
Galit na rin ang tao eh.
Galit na rin.
Galit na rin.
So, almost same
So
pattern
bigay natin sa
worldwide.
English. At least mais-ayos na. Kaya alam, baka tanggalin sila sa European
Alam mo
Union.
ba kayo, ang British sa USA, malapit na mag-divorce?
Split na, divorce na. Divorce na.
Mag-divorce.
Malapit na, malapit
So,
na.
in this the environment of chaos, lalong importante yung lilitaw. And maraming mga efforts naman. Of course,
Pero
our
alam mo,
friend,
Mentong,
our friend Bono Adasa keeps saying that he has his
Oo.
transition government.
totoo
That's
yan.
what it is.
There are
Transition
two
government.
factors to consider now.
That's who I remember.
Totoo yan. Bono Adasa and Duterte. Because both of them are necessary evil this time. Necessary evil.
Necessary
partner.
evil sila. Oo.
Wala na eh.
Bono hates Duterte, just so you know.
Diba?
Just so you know. I mean,
Very clear eh. Yun saka yung phenomenon. Biglang-bigla yung tao, kahit na ano
Is
sabihin
this-
mo, may blinder na eh. Sa
Well,
galit.
Eric, is this a consequence of being 2016? Is this a consequence because communication has come down to the
Yan,
people?
correct.
Because we are now have a voice.
Oo.
Social media, instant communication, instant news, not may be known by another part of the world. In less than 5 minutes, it's on all our phones.
Saka yung awareness, ang galing
Awareness.
eh. Ang
So
bilis.
is this a consequence of the human race growing up,
I'll tell you,
finding out?
yung social media, yung awareness can also be
Well, that's controlled also.
managed. No?
That's managed.
I will tell you, I know my friend is working with Duterte. And sa social media, sa Facebook, he has built up 20 million friends. Hindi ba? May mga friends ka.
mga
Over
friends
the
yun,
years.
correct,
Galing, ha?
Yan ang isang
Ang galing.
sikreto sa likod ni Duterte. Kaya sa social media, nagdo-dominate siya.
Correct.
Ano?
Yeah, he does.
And
I have
so,
to admit, even
really,
my Facebook,
ano,
nakikita ko parati pangalan
makikita
niya,
mo sa Facebook eh.
Ah,
ano?
bilib ako eh.
So yung social media is manipulable also, no? For good or for bad.
But-
ano, I'm not.
I realize, because even media, even us, we are part of public opinion. We're sitting here on TV, people are watching. We are generating, creating public
course.
opinion. We are also diverting them towards a directive that you and I, all three of us, believe in. But is this a consequence of human behavior, growth? Is it because it's 2016? Is it because we are eventually going to kill each other? We're going to go against each other? Are we racing to go back to the dark ages wherein we fight each other to stay alive?
Well, merong...
Is this the sociology that we are
yeah,
looking
yeah.
at?
Kung
I
pakikinggan...
think he is the tipping point. He is the tipping point.
Kung pakikinggan natin si Butch Valdez sa La Rouche movement, no? Matagal na nilang sinasabi,
Oo.
we're entering the dark ages.
Tama
no?
si Butch doon.
The 1990s pa, nagsimula yan.
Totoo
At
yan.
Anong,
They
sa,
predicted it.
sa kanilang analysis, anong ugat ng problema?
The financial system.
Yung financial system.
Correct.
Mali ang bangko eh.
Oo, yung hinahawakan ng iilan, ang yaman ng mundo.
Correct.
Ano, pahirap ng pahirap ang
Sa baba.
ang
Nawawala
mamamayan.
yung middle class,
Ano,
going down.
ang resources for education, for social development, lahat hinihigop nitong oligarchs.
Correct.
Ano?
Same here, the oligarchs are doing their jobs
Ang media, kung dati sa Estados Unidos, yung mga dyaryo, mga 10,000 dyaryo, ngayon, mga isang dosena lang may control ng lahat, so nakokontrol ng impormasyon. And this is the cause for the people to be slowly idiotized. Lalo na sa Pilipinas, dumadami ang nagugutom, anong oras sila na mag-isip at mag-develop ng kaisipan?
Correct.
So these are realities.
Very clear yan.
And meron tayong mga pinupuri na mga oligarchs na philanthropists, pero ang stark reality, pumunta ka lang sa kanto ng show at yung
Etsa.
dating Retelco, ano mo yun? Basta yung andoon sa kanto lagi yung mga yagit na bata, natutulog sa kalsada and so on.
No, but
Christian country daw ito, Christian country daw.
Ako, when I see that, when I see poverty on the street, there is only one thing. There's only one direction. You can only blame government until matanggal yan. For example, DSWD.
Kaya nga.
Ayan, sobra yan.
No. Dapat yan.
Puro
It just
panloloko
goes to
nalalaman
show-
yan.
Yeah. That's why the people are going towards Duterte. Well, what I don't understand is why we are in a mad rush to go back to the cave times, to go back to burning fire. Why are we in such a mad rush in ruining the world? Diba? I mean, I don't understand. Has it something to do with what man really is all about, the human being? We're out to destroy rather than to go forward?
That's why you have to bring out the better nature of man, the higher nature of man, and so
The higher nature of man, so faith-based.
Faith-based yung sabi ni Lito
Supposed to be,
David,
pero hindi.
But nasa ano din natin, nasa atin
Ulan
yan.
din yung mga paring natin. Sobra. Talaga naman. Yung CBCP, natatakot magsalita yan.
Yun lang yung PPCRB.
Oh.
Pumapil na naman yung lady.
Si Tita De Villa.
Pagkatapos yan, kukuha na naman siya ng ambassadorship niyan, for sure.
So,
Wala eh.
we're looking for
In her
heroes.
case.
We're looking for heroes.
Yun.
We're looking for heroes.
Correct.
Who wants to die? Who wants to die to be a hero? I mean, gee.
So,
That's what we need now. Totoo yan.
I'm not willing to die. I don't care to be a hero.
Actually, a hero lives. Ang mga
because-
hero. They're the winners in the end. They're the winners.
all right.
Dapat.
Okay.
It's a Filipino concept of fall of bataan lang. Ang hero, laging kawawa
Kasi
mo
missing
na.
tayo kasi.
Oo.
Eh, the
Masama na
American
yung stigma natin eh.
The American made Rizal. Di ba? He had to die. I mean, gee, do you have to die to be able to save the rest of the human race? I mean, is that what this movie is all about? I mean, I'd rather walk out at cinema. Di ba? I seem to care for my life. And that's what my faith taught me, di ba? Love oneself to a certain degree. Di ba? But how can we help save humanity? Better yet, I realize we may not be able to have the answers for the rest of the world, but because of communication, we understand that it's beginning to implode. Sana, maybe the intellectuals, the academe, get together and look for ways to to improve the system that we have now. It seems it hasn't improved in 6 years. It hasn't improved 9 years before
Well, it
that.
seems to have deteriorated since Cory sat in Malacanang, di ba? Everything.
So we go back. Let's go back to Marcos.
Mga 20 years ago,
Actually, I agree with you. My worst times were during Cory's times.
mga 20 years
I did
ago,
well during Marcos.
I lived in Kamuning, in Camias, no? And mga 20 years ago, every week I'd bring old books, magazines to a library there. Public library para mga bata, mga estudyante. Ngayon wala na yung library. Talagang, panahon ni Marcos, whether...
Wala ng hard copying. Telephone na ngayon.
At least, kung merong library, merong kang computer doon, pwede pa rin magbasa. Pero yung mga public services, nawawala. One supreme example of what has happened after Cory is nung panahon ni Marcos, whether we like it or not, no, whether we like the administration or not, yung mga libro were tax-free. Importation of books were tax-free. And remember, Marcos allowed the printing of pirated books. Pagpasok ni Cory, book importation and so on, lahat may taxes na. These are very clear examples of the reversal of public goods and public services.
So that's where the leaders have fallen. And yet the people continue to vote for them and agree with them. I mean, this Daan Matuwid. I see cars with a yellow ribbon. Gee, have they been, maybe they don't live in NCR, maybe they don't pass EDSA. Ako, tuwing nakikita ko yung yellow ribbon, bakit yung mga kotse nito hindi dumadaan ng EDSA?
I'm sure yung mga may yellow ribbon sasakyan, hindi sumasakay ng MRT.
Oh.
Sigurado yun.
Hindi, tsaka, pag pumunta sila ng airport, obvious ba? Wasn't it obvious way back in 2007? In fact, they were told that the build-up, the traffic, the density, the traffic in the airport will double up. And they did nothing. Maybe these people that have the yellow ribbons and whatnot really do not exist, or maybe they just stay home in air conditioning and pay the high bills because they also own maybe these public utilities, the water. So maybe they don't really care. But maybe they also own media, and they also create the fallacies to promote it on TV.
Definitely.
So the poor guy who's sitting in front of the TV, binibilog ang ulo niya. It is not color blue. I don't look like a human. I look like a giraffe. You just think I look human. But I'm a giraffe. I have big ears and I have stripes. Until after a while, oh nga, no? It's the king that has no clothes. Diba? That sort of thing.
Emperor.
The emperor. Diba?
Emperor.
I mean, it's going back to the life of fantasy.
Media napakahalaga talaga. And again, you go to other Asian societies, the media is not as chaotic as our media here.
Is
Now,
it
I don't
because
know.
of freedom, or is it, well, going back, it's the oligarchs who own it.
It's the oligarchs who own it. And babalik ako doon sa 2002, 2003, nung inintroduce yung EPIRA, Electric Power Industry Reform Act. Competition will bring down rates, better service.
Nagoyo tayo ron.
Exactly. Kabaliktaran.
Si Enrile yun, kasama si Enrile.
Lahat ng privatization.
Ang problema sa mga tulad ni
We all
Enrile,
suffered.
sumasakay sila.
Sumasakay.
Sumakay din sila sa 2010 kay Noynoy.
Sumakay
Tapos
din sila.
binaliktaran sila at sila naman ang inatak.
Sila trinidor.
I think we are looking for people who are very consistent, na tuloy-tuloy sa mga principles, na hindi
Do we have these people? Do we have these animals who can actually be the Lee Kuan Yew style? Do we have this animal who is Filipino, not Americano, not a dual citizenship, born, raised, stayed here, di ba?
Alam mo, Hari, marami
bang
yan.
ganong animal tayo?
Marami yan.
Alam mo, Mahari, marami yan, pero wala sa gobyerno pa.
Oo nga.
Wala pa sa gobyerno na to. In the past. Kailangan talaga magkaroon ng surgery para ma-achieve natin yung sinasabi mo.
So maybe it's too late because we already have election day
It's
today.
not yet
We're
late.
going to suffer the next 6 years
Well,
regardless.
let's now try to analyze the situation after today.
Okay.
Sinong mauupo? Kung si Duterte, anong consequences? Itutuloy ba yung banta ni Trillanes na magkakaroon ng coup d'etat? There is good basis to believe that it can happen because of yung conflict ng NPA-CVP na kaibigan ni Duterte on the left hand and yung military on the right hand na meron din siyang mga kaibigan. Can he, instead of creating chaos, conflict here, bridge the two, which is very difficult?
Impossible.
But the military, at number one, does Trillanes have any integrity? I seem to feel, I think he's fallen off that bandwagon. I think the man suffers from some delusional ideas, whether that's true or not, and I would
Well,
like to
it's not-
think
it's
it
not-
is.
it's not
No,
like
I will
Trillanes. It's
assume-
not only
I know,
Trillanes.
I would
Yeah.
like to assume, for discussion's sake, that that does exist because it's plausible. Malakas ang plausibility. But the military, miski pa paano, to create a people power of sorts, I think that will be difficult.
Well,
it's
you
like
know.
it's like Noy Noy saying he's going to start a people power on his own. I mean,
Oh.
my gosh. I think he forgets that he's not a comedian. Di ba? He's the president of the country.
maraming-
Hindi, parang ganun eh.
Maraming-
Because he opens his mouth. I mean, I'm going to create people power. I mean, really? Seryoso? I mean, and Trillanes doing the same thing. But the AFP to do it, you'd also need a charismatic. Buti sana a charismatic leader. If maybe Ramos, a personality, I don't see one charismatic leader among the military. I don't see any of them because of the revolving door policy of how many months and he's on top.
Sige.
Unless you have maybe a character as strong, as influential maybe as Ramos was, which is why he propelled himself up.
Yan ang problema natin
Sige,
ngayon,
sige.
Harry.
Wala eh.
We have so many characters in the government.
Ah, so that could be the
In
problem.
politics.
That's the
Ayan.
issue. I see.
Yan
So
ang
there's chaos
mangyayari.
within them.
So they will create trouble
Adventurism.
from within.
If we analyze, there are personalities we don't know maybe that are moving in the SAF kasi may axe to grind ng SAF sa
I don't
institution.
blame
no?
them. I
Precisely.
really don't blame them. I'd blame the president for stuff. Diba?
And then sa military, young officers lagi merong may high ideals, ano.
Kasi yung mga happy nila, ninanakaw ang pera para sa tao sa baba. I mean, Gasmin, I mean, look at him. Jesus, di ba? Talk about incompetence and all the mistakes left and right. And he's still there. And then the people he cuddles, di ba, beside them.
Actually, there's so many factions waiting in the wings.
Oo nga.
That's the truth about these things.
But
So-
if adventurism takes over, I wonder.
It's could be adventurism, could be a sense of mission, ano. Naghahanap yung mga forces ng kombinasyon na
Correct,
pwedeng
oo.
magkasama.
United
Sinong
Front.
gagarahin nila? So, the military gagarahin si Presidente, the executive who's just been seated, supposed to be. But the strength and the power of the President is based on the military.
Well-
so the military will replace the President, assuming. di ba? Assuming.
That's why we are analyzing. Kung may Trillanes na katunggali si Duterte, may Esperon at Ramos sa
Kaya nga,
likod
there's so many factions from within.
Duterte.
But
ano?
Trillanes is a gunner, I think. He can't even win. He doesn't even have the vote. I don't think he even has the votes of the military. But for argument's sake, that does exist. Eric, I'll agree with you, okay, it exists. Because I can see why. It's because may galit eh. SAF, ninanakaw yung pera sa taas, hindi bumababa, they don't get the services, just like the poor don't get the services. So, kung sinong kalaban nila, hindi naman pwede taong bayan. Anong gagawin ng taong bayan? We're stupid. We voted because ABS-CBN told us what to vote and whatever, di ba? So, as being stupid, di naman kami kalaban. Sinong kalaban nila, Presidente? But the
pero-
power of the President is the military.
Ang taong bayan din, hati eh. Kita na natin na may may
We're
Duterte,
also
may
divided.
Binay, may
Let's
ano.
face it.
But will the people go out and fight?
Meron na.
No, the people itself or the military? The military have guns. We don't.
The people will be called upon by different alternative
Factions.
leadership na
Factions.
mag-rally na tayo. Tapos yung since
Magkakaroon ng United Front yan.
Iglesia ni Cristo
process.
pumunta kay Duterte ang institution, ano? We cannot say that 100% yan.
So you mean the people will go out on the streets and
And
confront
kung
each
ganyan
other
lang.
we have
with
seen
different
that.
factions?
We have seen
Pagod
that.
na eh. Pagod na tao.
Sa EDSA 3, EDSA 2, hati-hati ang tao.
EDSA
eh.
1, EDSA 2, lahat yan.
So,
Pagod na.
sino ang alternative leadership or kung sinong maupo, magiging successful ba in reconsolidating society?
Yun.
Kasi yan ang isang hamon sa susunod eh.
So-
Na uupo.
So we have problems if Duterte wins being the majority, assuming the surveys are correct. If he does win, there is that
If he wins,
inevitability
if he
or
wins
probability.
33% according to the surveys or
Yeah,
even
which is all he
40%,
needs. All he needs.
it's still a minority presidency. Pero that's better than a 25%
naman.
presidency. So, we will have to see what happens
I
after
think
the
we have more
election.
text.
We have more text. Good afternoon from 8396. From Aklan, pangalan ko nawala sa listahan ng COMELEC. Sabi, di daw ako nakavote for 2 consecutive elections. Impossible yung kasi sigurado ako na wala akong miss sa eleksyon sa lugar namin. Thanks. From 4137, in Mama Sapano incident, Mangar was excluded. Kung ako magre-resign ako for delicadeza, but still he stayed. Wala siyang prinsipyo. That's very important. 7003, good afternoon po. 6 a.m. Nasa polling place na po ako. Nagpabayo naman po ako noon. pero wala po sa voters list yung name ko. I feel upset. I was not able to cast my vote. Kawawa naman. Number 8530, dito sa ating bansa, uso ang dayaan. Kaya hindi na tayo magtaka kung marami ang magnanakaw na politiko from Vic Villa of Banga, South Cotabato. Okay. Well, so far, we have not gotten positive text from our audience.
Ang gawin nyo po, ilaban nyo, ilabas nyo yung galit nyo, hindi sa mga kandidato. Kay Andy Bautista. Yan, Comelec na yan. Labas nyo yung galit sa kanila para sumara na yan. Once and for all. Because that's a useless agency. It causes conflict, crisis. It can't even attend to its crisis.
Saka isang gusto kong palitan nila muna. Yung kanilang spokesman, si James Jimenez.
Nako.
Hindi naman nakaka-inspire ng confidence yun eh. Di ba?
No, but I think the Comelec is spending more time, effort, and money to be on media to promote themselves. They're creating a perception that they are doing their work. Excuse me, stop doing all of that and go to work. Di ba?
Correct.
I mean, address all the issues,
Good point.
all the critics. Lahat ng lumalaban siya, halika, meeting tayo lahat, gawin natin. Di ba?
We're going to go back to the post-election at may presidente na.
Sige,
Ano?
sige, yan.
Si Duterte man siya, o si Po, o kung sino.
So,
Anong gagawin niya? First three things that he or she will do to restore confidence in
Government.
his leadership or her
Governance,
leadership. Ano? So, anong tatlong tingin yung kailangan niya gawin?
Wow.
Oh, beauty muna before age. sige.
Well, the unification of the people towards a very divisive election is almost an impossibility. Okay, so I will not even discuss whether it can be done, the unification. I think the most important would be to, well, control media again, because media is the only way that you're going to get the perception of the people out.
Correct.
It is no good to talking to one body or one bayan or your friends,
Correct.
or even the cabinet that you appoint, unless you can use media to be able to get your voice across, and if it works.
Okay
Assuming.
Okay, number one yan. Number two, para mabuo natin. Then we go to Eric.
Well,
Ano
I
number
would
two?
imagine that. And then two, you would consolidate your power, being that's your main source of authority, the military. Not even the police, the military. How you're going to do that? Well, again, you're going to require media, but more of the ability to identify the characters, the leaders, the authority within the AFP to be able to consolidate that power towards your, not interest, towards your protection to generate that authority.
Number
And
three,
third,
sa economy, meron ka bang ano?
well, yeah, ako first and foremost, I think we need to address this really looming price crisis, which is about to blow up, which is the China crisis. That needs to be addressed. And tama yung sinabi ni Attorney Mendoza, Lito
Correct.
Mendoza the
Oo.
other day, that maybe we should hold back the Hague decision making and leave it for the next president, because I don't think that a war is into our interest. I think an economic prosperity should reign, and the first thing to do would be bilateral, which is what the Chinese always wanted anyway. You got to remember, this problem is created by this president. Without this, in 2010, wala naman tayong problema. So let's go back to pre-2010 issues and talk working together. I mean, develop the gas and the resources together. Sharing nga, 50-50. Yung mga ibang putik, gusto nila, 10% lang tayo. Your call.
Sige, Eric.
Well, first
Three.
things first, tama ka, no, Harry,
Number
no?
one. Number one.
Talk with the media, unite the people, deal with China. Yan ang aking priority.
Agree
Talk with the
tayo
president.
dala, agree.
Kasi, alam mo, itong problema ng China, it's not only the Chinese problem. It's the problem of the world. Kasi, pag bumagsak ang isang bansa na malaki,
Sunod-sunod niyan.
damay sila.
Damay lahat.
Damay tayong worst na, tayong magiging fall guy dito.
Collateral damage.
Lalo na ngayon, ang perception is we are the epicenter of the world in Asia. So we have to deal with this immediately.
No.
So yan ang maliwanag nakita ko.
Dapat kayo ng presidente. May solusyon na eh.
Malaki sa'yo eh.
If you give me the job of the presidency today, Eric disagrees with me. He says only a fool will not change his mind. But no, that statement is correct. But given the situation the way I think right now, it's one job I do not aspire for, because it's really a lot of work.
Of course.
And two, there is a lot of competence, experience, and study before one becomes or aspires to be one. Ideally, di ba?
Ako, Ako,
Would you take the job?
I will take the job immediately.
Really? Ako ba that? No, I want.
Unang-una,
I would like to be an advisor, but to be given that
Sama ko sa'yo,
responsibility, ako hindi ko kaya eh.
Sama kami.
ako, unang gagawin ko, siyempre, whether real or
Imagine,
formal lang,
virtual,
tatawagan ko si Po. Kung ako si Duterte, at akong napo. Kung ako si Po o si Binay, yun ang una ko rin gagawin. Tawagin ko media,
council.
tatawagan ko itong mga kalabang ko, isa-isa,
Good
para mag-dinner kami. Yung hindi dumalo, talo. Kasi nananawagan kang positibo eh, no?
Correct.
Magkaisa tayo.
Gawin mo ano yan, yung ano mo.
Get our act together.
Oo.
Tama yun.
Hindi, tsaka put them in your cabinet.
That's right. Put them in your cabinet.
All of them, yeah. All of them.
Meron na naman dito. 4475. Duterte Marcos is the shout of Marawi City. Change is so near. Wag lang talaga tayong dumaan ulit sa daang matuwid. Doon na tayo sa alam nating shortcut. Number 92. Ganda nun ha. 9242. Kampo po ni Marojas dito sa amin. Nagbibigay po sila ng papel at pera sa halagang 500 pesos.
Wow.
Dito sa Mindanao, cheap naman 500.
baba.
Kala ko 1.5.
Baba.
1401. Ang daming perang lumalabas pag eleksyon kung yung ginagastos ng mga politiko, kung binibigay na lang sa mga mahihirap sa kanilang livelihood, di sana konti na lang ang mahihirap sa bansa
Tama.
natin. Number 8223, this election scenario shows the level of evolution stage compared with other countries. We are truly a developing country, meaning maatrasado pa tayo, ang ibig sabihin, ano? Okay.
So go back, you're being the president. That's number one.
Number one. Siguro sa apat na kalabang ko, dalawang mag-o-okay, dalawang hindi.
Sila yung talo?
Sila yung talo eh.
Sila.
Kasi
Agreed.
pikon eh.
Pikon.
Sa Pilipino, talo ang pikon eh.
Agreed.
Number two, aanunsyo ko. Siguradong susuporta ang populasyon sa akin eh. Sa Metro Manila muna, mag-uutos ako ng school busing system sa lahat ng exclusive schools. 2 taon lang naman, kaya wag magalit ang mga mayayaman para maayos natin ang traffic.
Traffic, oo.
Wala nang
Yan,
private
oo yan.
pagchuchoper. No?
Totoo.
Kalahating milyong sasakyan yan sa Lasal,
Totoo yan.
Ateneo, and so on. Number 3, I will start negotiation with Meralco for government to buy back Meralco.
Bring down the rate.
Para yung lahat ng mga
Tama, agreed.
nagbabayad ng kuryente, sila ay shareholder na. O yung tatlong unang gagawin ko.
Sama mo na yung
ano?
Nawasa,
Ha?
MWSS.
Susunod na yun, pang-4, pang-5 na yun. Ikaw nagmamadali ka naman eh.
The vice presidential debate tackled that issue of traffic and the commonality among all 6 was to move government out of the NCR because after all they account for about 35% of the
Correct.
moving vehicles.
No.
Now if we move government out to let's say Bulacan and Clark going towards the north, there's a lot of open areas. Of course you have to develop Clark. Diba? You have to develop the whole area. But you already have the infra, you have the basic roads.
Saka maayos.
And relocate government because after all, the density here in Metro Manila is already reached a
Grabe na.
saturation point.
Correct.
So, relocate them.
Okay.
Diba?
So, kaya wala akong kandidato para kung sakaling may naupo na, ay pagsasubmit ako ng proposal even without my name. Itulak natin. I'll try to be positive. Try to be positive for the first year.
We have to be.
We have
But
to
you
be.
know, this president, we wrote him.
I know.
I don't think he knows how to read.
Hindi ba
This
nga?
guy, this guy doesn't know how to read.
He's not the one governing.
Ayun,
Yun ang problema. It's Ochoa and
But
the
you know,
clique.
now that he's stepping down, lalabas ng katotohanan yan about the, the special child issues, this education, di ba?
Asperger's syndrome.
Asperger's syndrome. Maglalabas na yan. Tsaka, lahat yan lalabas na kasi pababa na yan. Pag lumabas yan, then let's see what will happen.
Okay, we are going to take a break just now. Is it just now for the
Yeah.
commercial? Paminsan-minsan, meron naman pala tayong commercial.